Vienna, Austria is a city of unparalleled beauty and grandeur. And in this travel vlog, I'm going to take you on a journey to discover the top 5 must-see places that truly capture its essence. From the great churches and cathedrals to the opulence of former imperial palaces, we'll explore the iconic landmarks that are synonymous with Vienna. Join us as we uncover the best of Vienna and discover why it's one of Europe's most captivating cities. Number 5. Schonbrunn Palace. Welcome to number 5. This is Schonbrunn Palace in Vienna. Of the 2 great imperial palaces of the Habsburg dynasty, this was the summer home. This was built and rivaled only Versailles in France. This is the garden, the backyard where they would play and ride horses. Let's take a look at the palace and the gardens. Schonbrunn Palace, or Schloss Schonbrunn in German, is a former imperial summer residence in Vienna, Austria, and is one of the most visited tourist attractions in the city. It's known for its Baroque architecture and beautiful gardens. It was built starting around 1700, but major updates and remodeling was done in the 1740s and 1750s under Maria Theresa. The palace has 1,441 rooms, many of which are open to the public. It was once home to the Habsburg monarchy, including famous rulers such as Emperor Franz Joseph and the Empress Sisi. The palace's Hall of Mirrors, the Mirror Room, and the Great Gallery are all decorated with frescoes and gold leaf and are considered to be among the most beautiful and grand rooms in the palace, reflecting the wealth and opulence of the Habsburgs. The palace's Great Parterre, a formal garden featuring symmetrical flower beds and sculptures, was designed by the French landscape architect André Le Nôtre, who also designed the gardens at Versailles. Schonbrunn Palace is also home to the world's oldest zoo, the Tiergarten in Schonbrunn. It was opened in 1752 and has hundreds of species of animals, including pandas and elephants. So, how fast can history change? Well, as I'm filming this, we're in the middle of a war going on in Europe. Who knows how large it's going to spread? But it sure can be fast, and I bet you the people that were using this as an imperial playground right before World War I had no idea how fast it was going to change, that part of it was going to be destroyed, and that the empire would be gone, and that this would soon be a public park. Here I am in the Privy Gardens of Schloss Schonbrunn, which means Schonbrunn Palace. And we really enjoyed our day here. I'm really glad we included this on the list of the top 5 things to do. It is very, very crowded. We are here in the middle of the fall, and it was still super crowded going through, even with our tour. So I can only imagine how it is in the summer, but it's worth it. If you're only here one time, it's definitely a place that you should come. I'm gonna help you out with a little bit of logistics. We ended up getting what's called a 6-day Vienna pass, so it allowed us to skip the line. If you do that, you still gotta get a printed ticket when you come here. So make sure to go to the little group place. You don't wait in line, but you still gotta get a printed ticket, and it's across the street from Schonbrunn and to the right. So keep that in mind. We really recommend actually getting the guided tour. We had a woman with red hair. I don't remember her name, but I'm gonna leave her a positive comment on Google and TripAdvisor because she did such a great job. She really made the history come alive. Basically, this Schonbrunn Palace, the 2 main groups of people that lived here was Maria Theresa and her cohort and all her millions of children. And that was in one era. And then the second era, which is more the 1800s, would have been Franz Joseph and his wife, the empress known as Sisi or Elizabeth, and that went all the way up until World War I. So really interesting, really fascinating. The tour really brought it to life. It's not as spectacular as Versailles, but it was built to kind of rival Versailles, and it pretty much does in so many different respects. So logistically, give yourself a lot of time. We spent probably 2 hours, a little bit more on the tour inside the palace because we had a lot of questions. But the gardens around the palace are open pretty much free to the public until 7 o'clock at night, and you could spend 2-3 hours just in those gardens wandering around. Whether or not you go in the kind of silly little labyrinth, which costs extra or not, it's not a big deal, but most of the gardens are free and very beautiful. So we do recommend it. Public transportation will bring you pretty much right here. Nothing to worry about in that regard. I'd recommend probably at almost all the sites here in Vienna, whether you're getting the Vienna Pass, which allows you to go to multiple different sites and includes pretty much all of them, or whether you're doing them individually, I still think it's probably better just to buy the ticket online the night before because the lines are really long. These are crowded places. It's a really popular city here in Europe, even in shoulder season. I hope that helps you out a lot, and we'll see you at next, number 4 of the top places to visit in Vienna, Austria.
Number 4, the Belvedere Palace. The Belvedere Palace is another gorgeous palace here in Vienna that was also built in the 1700s, but this one was built for Prince Eugene of Savoy. You know, the guy that basically stopped the Ottomans from being able to take over Europe. He was quite heavily rewarded.
In the city of palaces, museums, and concert halls, here I am at one of the best. This is the Belvedere Palace, home of the reportedly gay bachelor Prince Eugene of Savoy, who built it with his own private funds and rivals, and in my opinion looks a little bit better than Schonbrunn Palace. We're gonna go inside, check out the private pad, and some of the amazing artworks that he collected, mostly of great Austrian artists. So let's go inside, take a look at Belvedere Palace.
The Belvedere Palace is a destination to enjoy just in and of itself. You walk in, you walk up this beautiful staircase, and the greatest sight is the Marble Hall, which is 2 stories. It was mainly used for state receptions and things like that in the time of Prince Eugene of Savoy, but it's most famous because it's actually where the Austrian State Treaty was signed in 1955 by all of the Allied countries. But the main reason that people actually go to the Belvedere is it's because it's one of the greatest art collections in all of Austria and one of the best art collections in Europe. It has a couple great works, some beautiful sculpture works like Beethoven, a famous Monet painting of the chef. But what this museum is really known for in terms of art are 2 things. The first is going to be the gallery, which is mainly dominated by an artist who was Austrian named Egon Schiele. These paintings are really amazing. I could have really spent all day in here, so I'm going to give you a sample of some of them.
So this is the Znaimer Altarpiece. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but I really love it because this was not so common that, you know, most things would be flat in the Middle Ages when this was painted, and this is not. This is a wood carving, so it's 3D, and it really gives you a sense of like the chaos and motion here and emotion of basically the crucifixion. So at the time, entertainment, there was no social media, there was no TV, there was no movies. So when you went and saw an altarpiece in a church, this would be a really moving media experience. And to see something like this is particularly from Austria. I mean, you can see the expression of the guy making fun of it. It would have been a really incredible thing to enjoy or fear. And what this is saying here is that chaos and kind of raunchiness has triumphed, momentarily at least, over goodness.
But the star of the Belvedere, in terms of art, is Gustav Klimt. Gustav Klimt worked in the early 1900s, and his most famous work, it's basically one of the must-sees in the history of art, is called The Kiss. The Kiss is a depiction of a couple in an embrace, but it's mostly known for that gold leaf that you see, which was a decorative element, and it's basically the most representative example of the Art Nouveau movement. The movement was a little bit controversial because it focused so much on sensuality, and you can really get a sense of that in the beauty of this picture. And here are a couple more of my favorites.
I'm looking at the lower Belvedere, which was built by Prince Eugene of Savoy, and that is actually where he lived. Much like Schonbrunn, at the top of the hill was kind of like a gloriette, and that became the upper Belvedere. So it was bigger and grander with the beautiful marble hall. It was basically just for him to play in. So that's the upper Belvedere over here. After his death, it was already made into the museum in the late 1700s. So it remained in our collection. Franz Ferdinand did use this part, the Upper Belvedere, as an actual residence up until his assassination in 1914 in Sarajevo.
That's Prince Eugene of Savoy. It's called the apotheosis of Prince Eugene of Savoy. It's like him becoming a god. They used to do things like that, like with Washington.
Number 3, the Kunsthistorisches Museum. The Kunsthistorisches Museum, or the Art History Museum in Vienna, is one of the most important art museums in the entire world. Built in 1891, the museum was originally created with the purpose of showcasing the vast and immense art collection of the emperor, the Habsburgs, who were one of the most powerful royal families in European history. This is basically Austria's answer to the Louvre in Paris. When you visit this museum, you can basically expect to see the same wide range of art that you would in the Louvre, starting with Egypt and Greece, and moving on to all of the most important European painters like Titian and Vermeer.
So one of the most beautiful things about this museum that makes it one of my favorite experiences, you know, I've been to a lot of art museums, wonderful museums, the Met, the Louvre, places like that. But here, part of the experience is just being in the museum, because the museum itself, apart from the collections, is so beautiful. So you feel like you're in beauty, looking at beauty, and you can't really escape that in your head. I think one of the main reasons for that was because this was made as a museum in the mid-1800s, whereas places like the Louvre and some of the other beautiful museums were actually palaces first, like the Belvedere. So this was made as a museum to be beautiful and to showcase the art. So this is just one room. It's in the Greek antiquity section, but it's so exciting, you just want to kind of
dance around and wander around all day.
Some of the greatest works of art in all of Europe are right here in the Kunsthistorisches Museum. It's such an incredible destination in and of itself that we decided to do a whole nother video where we do a deep dive into the top 10 works of art in the Kunsthistorisches Museum. So make sure to check that one out as well. In the meantime, feast your eyes on this. Number 2, the Hofburg Palace. The Hofburg Palace in Vienna is a huge complex of buildings that served as the main residence of the Habsburg dynasty and the Austro-Hungarian Empire for over 6 centuries. It's been expanded and remodeled numerous times throughout history, and today it's basically home to all kinds of museums. The most important being the main palace, where you can see the living quarters of Franz Joseph and Sisi. With over 2 million visitors per year, this palace definitely gets the lion's share. But one of the main reasons is the star, Empress Sisi. There was recently a Netflix special about her, and there's a movie that's the favorite Christmas movie of just about everybody in Germany and Austria. This is their Princess Diana, this is their Queen Elizabeth, and you can see where she lived. The Hofburg is also home to the treasury, where you can see the crown jewels. One of my favorite exhibits in all of Vienna is right here in the Hofburg, and it has nothing to do with Austria. It's the Quetzal headdress, which is from the 1500s in the Aztec Empire and was probably worn by the Emperor Montezuma himself. It's made up of thousands of feathers of the Quetzal bird, which is a species found in Central America.
It looks like it would barely fit on my head, so it would have been really big. Even the blue part would have really come out. I wasn't expecting it to be such a bright blue and then that emerald green. Must have been a lot of dead Quetzals.
Number 1, the great churches. 2 of the world's greatest churches are right here in Vienna, Austria. Stephansdom, also known as St. Stephen's Cathedral, is a Gothic masterpiece that has stood at the center of Vienna for over 700 years, and it really knocks your socks off when you see it the first thing you come out of the subway right in the center of town. The Stephansdom is the most important religious building in all of Austria, and it's the mother church of the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Vienna. The cathedral's spire, which stands at 136 meters, is a prominent feature of the Vienna skyline and offers visitors a breathtaking panorama view for those who are willing to climb the tall medieval steps, which we did. Whether you're gaping at it from the outside over coffee, or on a walking tour, or walking around its beautiful interior, which is free by the way, this is one of the most sacred and iconic experiences in Vienna, and we loved it. Karlskirche, also known as St. Charles Church, is a Baroque masterpiece that was built in the early 18th century. It was built to honor Saint Charles Borromeo, a Catholic saint who's known for charitable works during the plague outbreak in Milan. The church was commissioned by the Habsburg Emperor Charles VI as a thanksgiving for his recovery from a serious illness. Another fact is that it's one of the most important churches in Vienna. The church's 2 bell towers are adorned with statues of Saint Charles Borromeo and his mother, which are considered some of the finest examples of Baroque sculpture in Vienna. The frescoes in the St. Charles Church are true masterpieces of Baroque art, a testament to the incredible skill and vision of the artist Johann Michael Rottmeier. These breathtaking works of art adorn the vaulted ceilings, and they depict grand scenes from the life of that saint, Charles Borromeo, as well as other allegorical figures and cherubs. Each fresco is a complete symphony of color and motion, every brushstroke imbued with a sense of drama and activity. That wraps up our list of the top 5 must-see attractions in the city of Vienna, Austria. I hope you enjoyed seeing it just as much as I enjoyed making it. And remember, the next video, we're going to do a deep dive into the Kunsthistorisches Museum, one of the greatest museums in the world, and I'm so excited to break down some of the best works of art for you, how they touched me, and why they're important.
See you next time. Don't forget to click subscribe and click the notification bell so you get a notification every time a new one comes out. Thanks for joining us on Picky Nomad. Auf Wiedersehen.